Hello and welcome to Casting Roles, a persistent D&D campaign played by a bunch of theater nerds. Thank you for joining us for the very first episode of Season 2. If you're liking the show, please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you'd like to see more like it, you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter at Casting Roles and on Facebook at Casting Roles ILM. And if you want a one-stop shop for all of our information, you can go to our website, castrolls.com. We're streaming here on Wednesday. We've switched our date to Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with our video uploads, we'll still be on Friday of the same week over on our YouTube channel. But with no other announcements, let's go ahead and start the show. So, ticket takers. Having made your way to Hightower and explored this bustling metropolitan, cosmopolitan city, and discovered some of the inequalities and disruptions that are existing within what on the appearance looks like a relatively peaceful world. You made your way to a few shops and then to the Absent Rapier for a night of burlesque dancing. There, you were invited by a man named Toby, who works for one of the high-class leaders of Hightower, Lady Kellis, to visit the Adventuring College. The next day, you visited the college and discovered that there was a little beef between Lady Kellis and your organization because the idea was stolen by Roland Longbranch. And she challenged you kind of to a duel of sorts to prove your worth to carry the mantle of Adventurers Guild. Defeating, handedly, her hand-picked students, you, over the course of the fight that was supposed to be 100% safe and protected, one of the Adventuring College members was killed. Lady Kellis then turned to you all to solve the murder, and after investigating and breaking apart weird love triangles and following clues, you discovered that one of the other members of the team had sabotaged the amulet that protected the player, but didn't know that it was going to go quite as far as it did, and ultimately revealed that it was a plot by Vox Populi and Lady Kellis's own assistant Toby to kind of diminish or tarnish her good name.
Damn it, Toby.
Yeah, damn it, Toby. Choosing not to reveal Toby's identity to Lady Kellis, you were awarded with about 1,000 gold worth of coin, and a partnership of sorts was forged between the Adventuring College and the Adventurers Guild, telling them to reach out to, of all people, Sora, to work out the particulars.
I'm proud of that one.
I like.
Oh, what?
Making her like the legerdemain of the the Adventuring College.
She's
yes.
your final test. She's actually. You thought fighting us was the final test. No,
yes.
Getting past Sora is the final test.
Yes.
If you can do that, then you're in.
You can survive. Yep. You decided then, with some of you kind of questioning Vox Populi's motives, assured by Soros that perhaps seeing the true nature of this realm would help not justify, but explain some of their actions. And so you headed off towards the Rift. Ticket takers, as you're kind of making your way through Hightower, Soros, you know that you have to, since the Boreal Quarter is locked down, the only entrance would be in Banktown, so you'd actually have to make your way out of the city. But was there anything else that you guys wanted to accomplish in the city before you went that way?
I would say swing by the aerodrome to make arrangements because our ship's docking fee expires
today.
To extend that so our brand new airship doesn't get repoed by the man.
Impounded.
The first day we have it.
Exactly.
Locked
Put a
down.
boot on it.
You guys come back.
And now that we have some funds to actually pay for this, let's go ahead and basically establish a line of credit so however long we're here, remain in, whether it's a day or two or whatever, they don't impound our new airship.
Okay, so easy enough. So you all make your way back to the familiar area of the aerodrome. All right.
Very fluffy.
So did you want to
Can we
stop?
stop by the Tempest Jeweler on the way to the aerodrome?
Yeah. So you guys go and you swing by the exchange. And you know, you go in, the doors are open, the guards are there, but people are coming in and out, and you make your way back to the bartering hall area, and you get to the jeweler, and he's back behind his like little shop stall. Looks like he's carving or working on things. Oh, hello, welcome back.
Hello, friend. We are here to check the progress of the jewels that we left with you.
Oh, yes.
Is that precise?
Right, I finished them. I was working through the night, and I finished them earlier this morning. Let me see. And he like kind of goes back, and he's like pulling little drawers out of this chest where you see a bunch of different jewels and things like that. And finally, he comes to one, and he pulls out 2 jewel gems and sets them up. And he says, "I was able to get 2 out of the one that you provided me with. So here are 2 carved Zephrysite crystals."
I appreciate it.
Yes.
I'll hand them to Saurus for safekeeping, and we'll work on setting them in the gauntlets.
Yeah, and these are these are master cut Zephrysite crystals, Saurus. So the likelihood that they would lose their charge goes from, I think right now it's like a 9 or a 10 on a D10.
One of them's a 9 or a 10, the other's a 10.
Okay, yeah, with master, like once Abel installs these, it'll jump up to like rolling a 20 on a D20.
Okay.
Yeah, it becomes a 5% chance.
So are these accomplished or like the scale you gave me? Basic, rough, accomplished, proficient, perfect.
These are perfectly cut. Yeah.
These are perfect. Oh,
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, the stage below perfectly cut. Yeah.
Proficient.
Yes, proficiently cut.
Okay.
Yeah. Master cutting, you'd have to probably have done in Noavia.
Okay.
But yeah.
So okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Perfect cutting. Yeah. All right, so you've got those. Abel would need to take some time to install them for you, but you've got them there ready for you.
And he still had. I gave him the other rough.
Yeah. So the
he can
exchange
keep that one,
was the exchange was he would do the work for the one. You gave him 2 rough cuts, and he would cut one of them for you. So. All right.
It's nice doing business with you.
Oh, of course.
Maybe we will come back and visit sometime when we are in the city.
Yes, I'm happy to be of any work for any exchange that you might have. And he goes back to
Good day to you.
carving things. All right. From there,
Can I sell the Haverly jewelry? Not here, because I know they don't do that here necessarily.
yes. So you can take another shot at it because you guys will be making your way through the Sylph Bazaar. So go ahead and just make an investigation check to see how well you can find somebody who to pawn these off on.
Oh,
I also have some random gems that I wrote down, but
19.
19. Does not take you too long. You quickly avoid a couple of the stalls that you'd been to already to try to pawn things off. And you make your way to a little one where there's kind of this old woman whose stall just seems to be like her sitting behind a wooden plank with this giant sack of stuff. And you get up to her and she inspects the jewels. Oh, this is very pretty. She's kind of looking at it, and then there's a couple of them that she's like, these are kind of out of her price range, but you're able to pawn off about half of the remaining stuff, and she offers you 150 gold.
Ah, taking it.
Okay.
Taking it. Yes.
You don't know whether you're lowballed, but getting rid of it is probably at this point.
I just want to get rid of it. I will forget about it if I don't start selling it in the high tower now.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing I've still got left is the signet ring, the Haverly signet ring that we took, and so we're not going to just sell that to anyone. That's going to get pawned in the Rift.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
I got the platinum bar, but it's been transmogrified.
It's a necklace now. Yeah.
A sigil of Metasansi, so I'm keeping it.
All right. Anybody else want to grab anything while you're heading through the bazaar on the way to the aerodrome? All right. So you arrive at the aerodrome, take the familiar elevator up to the top, and you see the royal airship is still there, as well as yours docked next to it. Quick look, there's nobody. I mean, aside from like crew on the royal ship, there seems to be nobody watching it or like you don't see Abel's father or the princess or anybody.
I asked one of the workers for the harbor master.
Okay, they direct you over. There's a kind of at the back side of the elevator. There's a little office section, and so you kind of walk around the aerodrome to the back side, and there's this. It's a relatively small office setup, just so he can keep an eye on everything from his space. And there's this kind of grizzled old human male there. Yeah, what can I do for you?
Kaimana?
What?
Do you want to talk to him?
You are the ship's captain.
Maybe. I thought Ma was in charge.
Ma is in charge whenever we do ticker things. With the ship, it falls to you.
Oh, so it's like an at shore, at sea command.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I will talk to you.
Yes, yes, my little friend.
So, Taurus,
Yes.
what do I say?
Ask him about docking fees, establishing a line of credit while our ship is parked.
I would like to establish some docking fees, and no, that's not right. I would like to pay docking fees and establish a line of credit.
Right. What vessel are you putting in credit for?
Something ticket this way comes.
He kind of checks his notes. I don't have that on record. Do you have paperwork?
I pull out the deed from the folder.
Okay. You hand it over, and he's looking at it. He says, "Ah, yes, the Nuavian vessel parked with the royal airship. Yes." He kind of
Nuavian design vessel. There's no proof it was actually built by Nuavians.
Let's not split hairs.
Okay. Sorry.
it is a Nuavian, whatever. Anyway, so so he's kind of making a note, and he says, "Okay, well, based on the size of the ship, how many days are you planning on having it parked?"
At least, I would say at least 2, possibly longer, which is why we wanted to establish the line of credit.
Oh,
Yes,
right.
one week, please.
1 week, okay. He kind of makes a couple notes. Says, well, based on the size of your ship and the amount of time that you'd like to have it docked, running on average about 8 gold per day.
It's reasonable.
Yes, it's not a very large ship, so 8 gold a day for 7 days.
I paid the man for.
I can do it. I got a lot of money right now. I got a lot of money.
I will allow Marlo.
For a loan.
Yeah, I will allow Marlo to pay the docking fee of 42.
All right.
Or 54.
50. Yeah. So you hand over the 54 gold. Sweet. Okay.
I'm glad you said that because that is not the number that I just typed in my head doing simple multiplication.
That's okay.
56, right? 56.
I don't know.
8 times
Right
7?
now, like we're just 8 times 7. Yeah.
4
What?
college-educated people here, and we're getting messed
Well,
up by the times tables.
I'm sitting.
8 gold for 7 days
Oh,
is
no.
56.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Kaimana.
Where's my cat? 8.
Split me into thinking it was not
56. No, I will say. When Ronnie said
I'm
50,
counting 7, 14, 21, 28. Like I'm like,
when Ronnie said 56, I said, no, that's right. But when I was when I made the number in my head, I was like, I should make this easy math, and then I chose the most complicated one in my head. 8 gold.
if you want to make it 5 gold, we can do that. That'd
No,
be so much
it's totally. It should. It's like, yeah, it's like it was based on the size of the ship and because it's something like it's like a gold per foot or whatever, or not a gold per foot, something like 7 silver per foot per day or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will give him 30 gold since he can't.
56 gold. Okay. So you hand over the 56 gold. He thanks you, and he kind of makes a note, and he said, I'd highly recommend getting the name of your ship put on the outside of the vessel because it's currently unidentifiable.
How would we go about
I have
many-
a painter's kit. Wait, I can go paint it really quick. Can
How
I go
many
paint
other
it?
vessels are there?
Currently docked at the docks, there's only 4 ships currently docked.
He can't tell 4 ships apart?
He can, but he's just giving you a little free advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna need to write it in 4 different languages.
what languages are you thinking?
Well, we have to have the pictograms from my island. I'll be responsible for those.
Okay.
And we have to have... Well, who else operates airships?
Nuevia.
Nuevia.
So,
I can do infernal in case we come across demons.
let's just cover our bases.
Super
here.
I
important.
can also do abyssal, but I think I'm not as great with the writing on that one. That's more the sounds of the thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to
So
not
you
take
just
my ship near an abyss. That's not in my list of things to do.
I don't think you'll be, going through.
you could always do it phonetically.
True.
It's just a lot of like screaming and guttural noises.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's hard to phonetically
You guys will have your
translate.
demons and devils covered then, so you're good.
It's like I know that language and this one just reads as Yarr.
Can I go really quick? Just try to, like, I guess painting the name on our ship. Would that take a long time?
It
It takes a while.
It depends how big you want it to be and how
What if I just do like a simple, like I just write it and then I come back later and make it look good?
Okay,
you
so you
know?
just want to do just kind of like the basic script, and then you're gonna come back
Yeah.
later and like, okay, yeah.
Well,
that
Literally
works.
just something, take it this way comes.
Are you
and then we'll come back and make it
Are you
look good.
proficient with the painting kit, or you just have one?
No.
Okay.
Well, how
Can I
about,
help her?
Hang
about
on.
this?
How can I help you, Marlo?
Carmana.
What if we just paint it on a sign and hang it over the railing?
That would be faster.
Okay.
And just so you know, I used to work in a boatyard, and it would take like all day to do the lettering
Yeah.
perfect and get everything. So even to just sketch it out would take an
Yeah.
hour or two.
This gives you guys time to think what you want it to look like. So
And I just picture in all of these languages it just being like the entire side of the boat is painted. It's kind of like the Caribbean vessels,
yeah,
where they have all the bright colors and stuff like that, but it's just the name in every different
People
language.
could ad space on our boat. And we
It just wraps 360 degrees around. the
Wait,
whole
we
thing.
can put
buns.
yeah, Norfolk
on
Fun.
Yeah, let's rip ad space on the bottom.
Your
That is
ad
a
here.
great idea. That's how we're gonna make money.
there you go.
Rip
Little
ad
Join the-
space
flag
on our
behind
boat
it.
and fly low. So
Join the
people-
Adventurers Guild.
You guys are gonna give Norfolk Buns free advertising, so it's fine.
She'll give us free buns.
Absolutely, we
Yeah.
are. Absolutely, we
She'll
are.
be the official food supplier of the
The
Rock-
Adventurers Guild.
Yeah.
She'll be on the throne by the time we're
By the
done
end of
with
this campaign.
campaign.
So Mar, at some
That's
point,
treason.
you like go into the ship to the hold, and you get like the top of a barrel, like the circular top of a barrel, and go ahead and just roll a performance check. You can either do
Yes.
performance,
Yes.
or you can do like just a dexterity check.
Would love for it to be that dex check. That's 17.
Oh, good, because you didn't misspell anything. So, so like you clearly block out the letters on the lid.
To be
and then-
fair, I don't think my education was super great, so that's pretty remarkable
Yeah.
for me, I think.
you had like hippy dippy
That's
like
how-
like no school parents, and then you had a different life after that. So
Yes.
That's how Abel helps. I'll help with the spelling.
with this, there you go.
Thank you.
And then then you attach a rope to the barrel lid, and you just hang it off the side.
Yeah, and then I write parentheses under the name "fuck off." Lettering.
Do you also do that in multiple languages? No, it's just
I
fucking-
put that in Infernal for flair.
That you
Okay.
would know how to say in Inferno. That seems to be like one of the first things you would learn.
Abel
Yeah.
Abel helps you out a little bit by like heating up like a blade, and you like carve it in there, so it's like looks like it's burned in. Yeah, there you go. All right, so you guys you've paid your dues for the week, whether you park here that long or not, and you.
Well, I'm sure he'll prorate us the rest.
Sure. Yeah.
Well- Or the next time we come in, our docking fees are paid.
Yeah, you guys built a line of
For a
credit.
day or so, yeah.
You're established in the system now. All right, and then you head back off, and then next stop, exit.
Yeah, we are going to go to the southwest of the Western Great Lift, along the endless buffs.
right.
Endless bluffs.
Yeah, so to get there, so you have to make your way out of the Zephyrus ward, or the central ward of the city, and then you head off into the eastern or the western ward of the city, to the large. I mean, it's like probably like a 6 lanes of traffic bridge that crosses over from the western ward of the city onto the main bank of the Suvenarian River. And this is like this huge decorative bridge, kind of suspension in elements with like bright streamers and colors, with it seems to be carved out of like beautiful marble or some kind of whitish stone, which is probably not the best with river water, but you know, there you go. And
sandstone.
Yeah, sandstone. Sandstone. Like this is going to go away eventually. And then there's not a lot of traffic on this side. Saurus, you know that like the western bank is much more active than the eastern bank, but there are some. Looks like a lot of caravans coming in from maybe the Veltland area or from the mountains, bringing in materials, and there's a few people kind of walking through the pedestrian portion of the bridge, making their way out of town. There's no like guard check or anything like that. This is a free and open space, and so you make your way across the bridge, and the bridge is about a mile long. It's pretty long, and so there's a point where you're out in the middle of the bridge, and you know the banks of the river as far away as Hightower, and you can turn and kind of get a glimpse of this, you know, these massive, the islands themselves, these massive bluffs that stand up about 1,000 feet above the roaring river below you, and just the city, and you can get a pretty clear glimpse. The western ward that you just came out of is mostly like warehouses, and so you can see these squat little storage containers, but in the background it's really easy to see, like the further south you get into the city, the colorful buildings, the bright streamers, the taller buildings in the exclusive ward where the Aarakocra live, and then you can see on the northern half of the city just the squat hovels, the things made out of stone, made out of wood, and much closer together and bunched together. From this distance, you get a clear picture of how Hightower is very much a segregated place when it comes to the class of their people. You keep making your way out, and you know to head left off of the bridge once you get to the bank, and which is interesting because the right-hand road is this beautiful like cobblestoned road that seems to extend as far as you can see, exiting off the bridge that way. The left-hand road is dirt. And is trafficked but mostly by walking, a couple people with maybe a small horse and cart heading that way, and you guys get the sense that you're heading now towards the bluffs, the large, immense bluffs that mark the edge of the highlands of Alyria. And as you kind of crest over a hill, looking down towards the edge of the bluffs, you see just a stream of wooden houses kind of buttressed up against each other, muddy dirt roads between them, people kind of milling about, definitely a lower class environment. But you've made your way now to Banktown.
Friends.
Where's the bank?
It's not that kind of bank. In going through Banktown and into the Rift, don't look anyone in the eye, and don't pay attention to anyone unless they are asking for attention. For example, if someone is selling something, they will be yelling their wares and you can go interact with them. Otherwise, it's none of your damn business. And there are two ways to do well in the Rift. One is to be super sneaky. The other is to be strong enough that no one messes with you. We have to be the latter. So Marlo, me being local will help, and Marlo making sure that your sword is very visible and loose, and if anybody else has any weapons about them to prominently display, that will be helpful.
I will take out my crossbow, which I rarely use.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Make sure it is
my,
loaded.
my coat's kind of like, you know, pushed back, and you can see where I'm strapped with these swords.
Do you display
Ava is
your
a
emblem?
little scared.
It wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
You got your emblem displayed, Mar?
Because
Because you were kind of hiding it behind your scarf, so I just want to see if Okay.
I don't wanna. No.
No. Okay, good. So you
I'll
keep it.
pull it out if we gotta.
Good. You keep it hidden behind your scarf. That's fine. Yeah.
I think it's gonna ask for more attention than it's worth.
All right.
And you can always show it if things start to escalate.
Exactly. Or I can just prove it. If things
Yep.
start
There you
to
go. Yeah.
escalate.
It starts to escalate.
You know, and Kaimana, your animal shape change might come in handy if, say, some people start to surround us. Just shifting into a bear may preclude us from having to use you as a bear.
Is covering my eyes not enough?
You don't have to cover your eyes. Just
You said not to look at them in the eye.
right. So
It's like look at your feet as you walk, like a little bit ahead, you know? Not straight. Well, yeah.
yeah, that'll be perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So
And
so,
I lead us into where the entrance is.
good. And so,
Doing the little Charlie
Yes.
Brown walk.
so you know that the main entrance is in it's like a shed behind the main tavern. But in order to get into like the yard where the shed is, you have to reveal yourself.
Yep.
And so you go into the main tavern, and even though it's kind of like, I guess probably at this point it's like mid-afternoon for you all, there's a smattering of people here, kind of drinking. Many of them look like they're kind of drowning their sorrows. And you hear like a smattering of people talking in whispered sounds as soon as you come in, and then there's a moment where like everybody looks up, and the space goes quiet, and they're kind of looking in your direction, and then there's
I nod.
yeah, there's a slow turn back to their drinks, but what were hushed whispers before even become more hushed. And the bartender doesn't even really acknowledge your presence. He's just kind of cleaning out some really gross-looking mugs, and he kind of glances up in your direction as you come in. And so the bartender just kind of like goes back to cleaning his things, but you can see that every now and then he's kind of glancing up. Anybody proficient in perception can roll a perception check of this.
Yeah, I am. Hang on 1 second.
Proficient?
I get my camera fixing a bit.
That's fine.
I don't see anything. I just wanted to put that out there.
12.
I rolled a 5.
Okay.
15.
I rolled a 14. That's
Okay, with a 15, Soros, you pick up on it. There's a couple of the people, as you're walking up towards the bar, because you know you have to go to the bartender. As you're walking up to the bartender, you hear, like, there's some hushed whispers at a table next to you, and you hear a couple of them saying, yeah, he hasn't been seen for like 3 days. I don't know. He disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. And then as you keep going, if you all remember from the town crier that there were reports of missing people in Banktown. So they seem to be discussing that. So, but you make your way up to the bartender, who does not acknowledge your presence, but he's kind of there just waiting.
I put 4 silver on the bar. Tell him I'm with the monastery of the Four Winds, the usual.
So he
And I slide our feet
Yeah.
across.
He pockets them, and he kind of looks up. Interesting garb the monastery is wearing these days. But back doors open, don't fall in the puddle.
And off
yeah.
we go.
Okay, so you make your way back through the back, and there's like, you actually have to walk into the toilet, and like, the door opens into the toilet, and all of you kind of are looking like, what why is Saurus leading us into the bathroom? But then there's like a chain that you pull on the side, and like one of the side walls pivots out, and that actually opens up into the fenced-in back yard of the tavern, and then you lead them back to the shed. When you get there, it's just a hole in the ground with a ladder, but Saurus guides you all, and he starts climbing down the ladder. And you kind of go one after the other, and you're kind of going deep into the earth. You're probably climbing for 50 or 60 feet before you come to kind of a squishy, muddy base that kind of goes in this winding, hand-dug-out cavern space with just kind of posterns holding up the ceiling with a couple of lanterns, just barely enough to keep light in the space going through. And finally you see like there's daylight in the distance, and when you get to the daylight, like you get to a point where you walk out onto this like wooden platform, and you look out and down, and there's just a 3-mile drop of dead air beneath you. You are on the edge of the endless bluffs, and off to your left you see the roaring river coursing over the side into the massive oh no, there we go, hold on, I've got oh, there it goes. Okay, sorry, I was getting a notification that my output wasn't working. Then you get the massive river waterfall off to your left, and the roaring sound of the water pouring over, and then just this cloud of like mist that's kind of floating across, and you kind of see yourself, you're in a little bit of a fog here, but if any of you have vertigo, like you probably want to stay away from the edge of this walkway. Saurus nimbly makes his way down the walkway. It's a rickety it's a rickety wooden contraption. Everybody just make a general just a dexterity check just to see how you maintain your balance on this structure.
Last time I tried to jump over slippery rocks, I landed in the mud in the freaking forest.
That's true.
24.
All right, your Kaimana nimbly follows behind Saurus.
24.
Ah, look down!
Oh my god, a 7.
7.
16.
16. Okay, 14. So you're all kind of traveling on, and there's just a moment where like Mar, you kind of turn, and you're like, I've never seen like the world in this way or whatever, and you turn around, and Abel is just like holding onto the side of the stone bluff, and like his eyes are closed, and it kind of looks like he thinks he's walking forward, but he is just locked in place.
I'm just gonna gently grab onto the front of his shirt and start pulling him along.
All right, so you got him, and you've walked this space, so you kind of are like gingerly stepping, and you can kind of keep him away from any of the spots that look a little iffy.
Just peek really quick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Malo. Thank you.
Yeah. The pathway begins to kind of make a slow angled descent, like not anything to trip up anybody, but a slow angled descent. And you walk for like a good 500 or 600 feet before you see Saurus ahead of you like turn right, and he disappears into another cavern entrance that's been dug out into the side of the bluffs there, and he starts to wind his way through another cavern space. Eventually you all make your way there, and you're following along behind Saurus until you get to kind of this open cavern. There's a palisade of wooden stakes that cover about half the cavern, and then there's a gate there, and then there's 2 men on either side of the gates, both in relatively rugged leathers. One a taller half-orcan male, and the other a human-ish looking individual, and they both have very like rusty old looking blades, but look like they could do a lot of damage, and they just kind of watch as you approach, and Saurus gets there first, so they're looking in his direction. They don't say anything, they're just waiting.
I wait for the gangs to catch up.
Okay, so everybody eventually kind of stumbles into the space with you.
I look at him, shins up, and I turn and enter.
Okay. And right as you're passing by, the one taps you on the shoulder. We've increased the fee.
Jesus.
Marlo, do you want to pay the man?
Sure. I look at him.
He's just looking at you, just waiting.
Well, I look at Saurus.
How much has the fee increased?
Those who know, know. Saurus, you get this, like, this guy's wearing a different emblem than you're used to seeing on his chest. This is a different security detail than you're used to seeing at the front of the city.
Do I recognize it?
Go ahead and roll just a intelligence check.
Intelligence. That's a 9.
No, like the emblem, it looks like you are familiar with like the Chasm Watch, who are like the unofficial police of the Rift,
Yep.
and they have the Chasm Watch emblem on them, but they also have another emblem on top, like next to it, that you don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Come here. What are you doing?
Well, there's 5 of you. Because you're
There's
paying
4 of us.
entrance. 4 of you. Sorry, there's 4 of you. I'm looking at myself. There's 5 of us. There's 4 of you. Would you? I mean, you're paying entrance for all 4.
Sorry, I'm looking at my inventory.
Can I roll an insight check to see if I can gauge what he wants from me and what I actually think is a reasonable thing to pay him?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at my feet.
Oh, I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna know this. 11.
I mean, he's not giving you a lot of indication of the price. Yeah, with 11, it's hard to tell.
Okay, can I just nonchalantly just kind of like move my coat and just have the emblem out? Like, I'm not like trying to make it obvious. I'm just like, oh no.
Okay.
I'm important.
Okay.
Don't fuck with me.
The one you're talking to doesn't seem to respond to it at all, but the other one, like, kind of leans over and whispers something in the guy's ear, and he says, "I thought you were with the monastery."
I am with the monastery.
Well,
She is with, well, you know.
yes. Well, official business. We don't necessarily like traipsing through the woods, but you've not been here before. It's 1 gold each.
I give him 4 gold.
All right, and he puts it in
God.
he puts it in a pouch on his side, and then they both move to the side and almost like behave like you're not even there anymore, and then you enter in. The first thing that you get from the rift is the sound. You can hear what sounds like rushing water as you're kind of entering into this winding cavern system, and then there's a moment where, like, you think over the water, you can hear maybe the sound of like instruments playing or like distant music or something. You're not sure if it's just like a trick of the imagination. And you find yourself in darkness for a little bit of the journey, but Saurus is carefully guiding you through it. It's easy enough to put your hands on either side of this pathway to go through this space. And finally, you come around a final bend, and you open up into this massive ravine-like cavern. Rock ceiling hundreds of feet above you, and there's this false light that's drifting throughout the whole place, where there's lanterns hung haphazard everywhere. It's kind of giving this glow, and kind of coming out of it, you immediately realize that the sound that you heard was rushing water at the base of this, maybe 500 or 600 feet below you, is just the roaring underground river that seems to probably be like a sister to the river above. And it's racing by Saurus a little higher and faster than you remember it being the last time you were here. Whether it's because of flood or whatever else, you don't know, but it does seem higher. But the first thing you all see is you're on a wooden platform over this water. You're on like the sheer cliffs of the chasm rising up around you, and this pathway has been built onto the side of it, and you notice that it kind of curves outward, and there's just a wooden shanty house, wooden hovel. On top of that, another one with a ladder going up to it, and then on top of that, another one with a ladder going up to it, and then there's a rope ladder that goes across the cliff, precariously hanging, 250 feet across this chasm over to another one. And then as you guys are kind of opening your vision to see, you just see levels upon levels upon levels of these old shanty like hovels and structures built onto the side of this chasm, with just hundreds of some really well-built bridges, some really precarious bridges, some that are just like those rope bridges that have like single pieces of wood every like 3 feet that you just have to hold on to and walk across, just dangling in every place. But in all of this, the kind of poorness and darkness that you see color everywhere. They've got hanging flags and banners, and some of the houses even look like they've been partially painted with bright tones and bright colors. And you do now realize that the sound you heard was there's a distant band or some kind of musician playing somewhere not far away from where you are. So while dark, there is some life to this space as well.
I lead him to the monastery outpost. We're going to start there.
Okay, so you kind of make your way across one of the main bridges that kind of goes up to the second level on the other side. And here there's like there's a couple places where the stone is naturally kind of carved out. And there's a few where there's much larger buildings constructed here. One of them is the Hoarder's Folly Tavern, which you're really familiar with, Saurus. And as you're all walking by, the Hoarder's Folly Tavern has a sign out front which depicts like a man in a beautiful outfit, maybe with a crown on his head, on a spit over a fire, with an apple in his mouth. And underneath it, it just says "Eat the Rich," and that's the Hoarder's Folly like emblem. And then you walk past that, and next to it,
who else is hungry?
We can come back for dinner after we check in with the monastery.
Yeah.
All right.
So you walk right past that, and you know that the monastery is kind of generally set up in a couple places, and it just depends on the day and what they're delivering. They've set up like a couple spaces down from the Hoarder's Folly, and their tent is there, and you can, all of you at this, like, you've seen like people walking around, but this is the first point you've seen lots of people from the Rift gathered in one place. And outside this tent, you see 7 or 8 individuals, most of them very poorly dressed. Some have like lesions on their face. Others look relatively healthy, but are kind of like gaunt. And they're standing there waiting, and what you see is a few monks of the monastery handing out packages of food to each of these individuals who are coming up and gathering things, and then they're walking off to go back to their homes. But you're located the monastery outpost.
So I will go greet my brothers.
Okay, you give them the general greeting, and they kind of bow back, and they're like, one of them does recognize you immediately as like, Saurus, we didn't expect to see you back so soon. You've only been gone about a month.
Just passing through. I've had some interesting adventures and some success.
Yes, sure, we would love to hear all about it, but it's good to see you.
Who's the senior brother here?
He kind of looks over and he says, Brother Marcus is with us today. He's quite the taskmaster, as you know, but he's overseeing the activities.
Right. I will go speak to Marcus.
Okay. You know Marcus well enough to know, like you've worked with him a little bit. He's this very severe older monk, and he just kind of looks up from a ledger where he's keeping track of the goods that they're handing out. Saurus, good to see you.
I give him the reverent bow.
He nods back.
My friends and I are passing through the rift. We're interested in what's going on with the Boreal Quarter. I want to show them a few things around, and then we will be leaving by airship later. And I give and I have something for the monastery for the efforts here, and I give him 100 gold.
So you hand over the pouch of the gold, and he kind of looks at it and he goes, "Ah, I can see that you have been quite busy in the last month. Rather impressive. As far as the Boreal Quarter, there's some kind of sickness that's spreading. They say that it's of natural causes, but those who know it's magical in origin. The Violet Cloister is working to find a solution, but you can trust them about as far as you can throw them, I'm sure.
I shouldn't be throwing anybody with my bad back.
Probably not. There are other problems, as you can see, and he kind of looks down at the raging water below. And it's at this point, Source, that you realize that, like, there was a level to the rift that you now recognize is no longer there.
Okay.
That the floodwaters seem to have washed out, like, a whole layer at the bottom of the rift. There's been a lot to deal with ever since the deluge. So we've been rather busy.
I can imagine. I shan't take up too much of your time then.
Yes, I appreciate the donation. You can still get into the Boreal Quarter through the normal means, if you need to.
I would like to stop by the monastery to pay my respects while I'm in town.
Yes, you should. If you still have your sigil, the gondola is only running for monastery workers at the time, but your sigil will get you access.
Thank you.
And he goes back to counting and adds your to a pile of stuff. Yeah.
So let's go get Kaimana some dinner.
Okay. So you guys make your way back a few paces to the Hoarder's Folly, which now you realize, like, this is where the music's coming from. And you open the door, and it's a relatively large. It's actually built into the side of the cliff. So while you could see, like, the outside of the building seemed, kind of tavern-sized, when you open the door, you realize it's much larger because it's actually built in. And the back whole wall of the tavern is rock, because they just kind of built in until they hit the rock space, and so it's there. And at the back, like in this naturally reverberating space, is a couple playing instruments, and the sound kind of washing out. And there's people in here kind of drinking and carousing. There is a moment where a few of them kind of look up at your entrance and make eyes. But then they go back to what they're doing. And at that moment, who's Abel probably is in the back. You feel a tap on your shoulder, and you turn around, and there's a man there. Rugged leather is very similar to the guys out front, and he has a patch on his jerkin it looks like a mountain with a chasm in it. Could you explain your business here?
We, Soris, gentlemen would like to have a word with you.
Yes?
I'm just interested to know why 4 outsiders are walking through the streets unhindered.
I am with the Monastery of the Four Winds, and I point at Marlowe's patch.
I'm his backup.
His back. Okay. And this one,
We're just passing through. We're not staying long.
I'm on the beds over.
We have no business in the rift.
Yeah. This one, you do notice Soros has the familiar marking that you know is associated with Vox Populi, but like you know that the Chasm Watch, like Vox Populi, has a heavy hand in their work. This one specifically is a Vox Populi representative.
Yeah. I do mention that. Who are we looking for?
Phileas.
Yeah. Well, I know there was Phileas, but wasn't there someone from talking to Jane?
The Maven.
The Maven, yeah. But Tobias told you that if you wanted to find her, you'd need to probably talk to Phileas first.
Yep. and I will mention that I am here to see Phileas, with whom I have had prior engagement.
And you throw in some of the code words that you know, and he nods.
No code words.
He does, as being a person of the Rift. It's like thieves can't.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like the Rift has its own language that those who live there know it, and so he acknowledges it, and he kind of follows you in as you enter into the tavern, and he kind of looks around and he notices a couple people like kind of at the back who seem to be like hunched over their drinks, like talking to one another very seriously about something, kind of like revolutionaries in a bar type thing. And then he makes eye contact with one of them and then walks back out. And then you guys you find yourself suddenly unharassed in the tavern. So do you want to find a seat?
Yes.
Okay, so you find a table. The bar tender the bar gentleman, not a barmaid, a bar gentleman comes around, and he takes your orders if anybody would like food or drink.
I would like a beer.
Okay.
Whatever you have on your menu in regards to meat.
He nods.
Same.
Okay. Marlo, anything?
I'll get some, whatever the vegetarian option is.
He kind of like
A bunch of sides.
I would like the meal that's 3 sides, please. Like,
Yeah.
And so and he kind of goes back. When he comes back, he kind of sets it down. Like anybody who ordered drinks, they're a silver per drink, higher prices than you're used to in lots of places. But you don't get the sense that they're charging everybody the same price. But silver for you. And then sets the food down, and it's also a silver for a plate of food. So if you got food or drink, you can mark that off. And then, so you're kind of there, and there's a moment where you realize like there was a table of people sitting near you and they like got up to go get drinks, but then they moved to other tables away from you after you sat down, and so you're kind of there.
So are we like persona non grata in this tavern? Like no one wants anything to do with this?
We are unknown factors, and here everybody minds their own business. So that's why I've told you to not look at anyone and stuff. If we were here for a while and you established yourself as being a non-threat, they would be more accepting, but this is actually a pretty warm welcome, all considered.
Soris,
Yes?
I can't see my feet through the table.
Oh no.
Oh,
You should probably have more beer then.
Wait, no, I got it. I figured it out. And I'll prop my feet up on the edge of the table and look at them.
no.
So you're there kind of quietly chatting and eating.
Yeah. And basically, the idea here is to not look like an easy mark, but not look like a threat, which is a very fine line to walk.
Yeah. Anybody wanting to make perception rolls, if you want to look around or do anything, you are free to do that during that time.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we ask you?
No, I've not rolled good on perception all game.
Oh, I'll roll. Why not?
17.
17.
Ooh, I'm not going to beat that.
I am following my own
17.
advice and not minding
And
anyone else's
There you
business.
go. So there's a moment where like Kaimana is like looking down at like trying to see his feet through the table, and then he just kind of goes. It's like takes like a spin around. Kaimana, you do notice. I mean, like nobody seems to be paying too much attention to you, but the back table where there were 3 individuals sitting like conspiratorially talking over their ales, one of them's now not there, so it's now only 2, and you do hear like random snippets of conversation about like there's a couple that do seem to be talking about you all, There is somebody who again mentions like somebody missing. You do hear somebody mention the flood, but it's just kind of like pieces of conversation, so it's hard to pick up on like threads. But as you're sitting there all kind of talking, or not talking to each other, kind of focused and trying to keep a low profile, you do hear a voice back behind you that says, well, I hear that you might know that Vox Populi remembers. And Ace, would you like to join us?
Ah! That's why the camera's off.
You sneaky.
I thought we all just were not agreeing to not comment on that.
Oh no!
No.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the camera's broken. He has to reload the camera. Yeah. Phileas! Yeah.
Oh yes, 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 yes. I did write his name down.
I have 2 different overlays. It just depends on which side Ace ends up in the camera.
Go lay down, Sully.
So you can reveal Acewood.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
There we go.
Hi.
Let's see.
there's someone in this tavern with you.
Yeah, let me see. Let me quickly adjust just like the what part of the frame we're seeing for you guys.
Let me tilt
Who
this
is
up.
that guy?
Yeah.
Who is
I was
this
like
man?
Grace. I thought we were just gonna like ignore like the fact that we couldn't see.
I thought we all just were not like agreeing that we were like, all right, Atwood's camera's broken. We're just not
Yeah.
gonna comment on it.
I just figured I was like Josh will put
Fine.
like the image of Kaimana in his little box and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So.
Well, Josh
yeah.
had told me, he's like, you'll enter in a tavern. So you
Yeah.
mentioned the first tavern we sat down, and then I was like,
Oh, sorry,
shit.
yeah.
It's like a fucking Inception tavern. Oh no.
Sorry. Yeah.
It was
It's
funny
okay.
to me.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'll try. Like, if I can move them, it'll be like an hour or an hour and a half. It depends on how many side quests we have. And so.
It was
Yeah.
totally
Yep.
fine. I felt like an actor, you know, when they stand in the wings like 30 minutes before their cue, and you're like, can you move? Can you like, can you not? And it
All right. So.
was funny.
So Ace, as they kind of turn to see this person who has said the code word that they're all familiar with, what do they see?
So you'll see like a relatively tall half orc. Usually most of the time half orcs are like very muscular, but this one seems like kind of lithe and kind of androgynous. And they look over at you, and they have like dark black, almost kind of purple sheen hair that is like very, very well kept. It's like braided intricately, and they're looking at you like very kindly with a smile. You see their clothes are kind of like patchwork design. They're very like loose and colorful. And on their back is like a big instrument case, and it seems like there's a sword strapped to it as well. So they look at you all.
Would you care to join us?
Well, of course. And they'll sit and order a drink.
The server very quickly comes by when they recognize you, and they give you a much warmer welcome, and just like the usual then.
Oh yes, thank you.
And goes back and eventually comes back and drops your usual fare at at the table for you, as well as a drink.
Yes.
Now we will get a slightly warmer reception.
Yes, I think I can make it a little more accommodating for you.
What is your name, friend?
I'm Juridin.
Juridin.
Juridin, yes.
Juridin.
So, what brings you folks to the Rift?
We're looking for Phileas.
Ah, okay. Is Phileas one of my connections, Josh?
You would, yeah. Phileas is like, you would know 100% who they're talking about. He is like not like second in command of Vox Populi, but he's like really high up.
Okay.
And you would know where he is.
We have mutual acquaintances of yours that we have met that recommended we stop by and say hi. And I have met him before, and I tap on my hip. I'm wearing a pistol, which you have seen Phileas.
Yeah.
Because he's...
and actually, there's... Jury would have noticed that there's a couple other members of Vox Populi who also carry a very similar design.
Sidearm?
Yeah.
Well, it does seem we have business then.
I will introduce myself.
Okay.
I am a anthropomorphic white rat with an eye patch. I'm dressed in a white jacket and white clothes with red trim and gold buttons. Basically, my inspiration was Danger Mouse.
Every time you say that, I'm
Danger
so
Mouse.
adorable.
Yeah. Danger Mouse. And I am with the Monastery of the Four Winds.
Okay, what is your character's name again? I'm gonna have to like...
Soris. Souris.
Okay.
That is not how I've been spelling your name.
It is French for mouse.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And your party? Look at the rest of you.
Kaimana.
Oh, it
Yep.
talks. Okay. It like jumps. Like, oh, okay.
Hi,
Hello.
my name's Kaimana.
Oh, it's nice to meet someone like you.
It's too.
You know, you don't have to touch. Okay, that's very small. It's like Jordan's hand is so big. It's like you can barely shake your hand.
Are you Mahu?
My what?
Are you Mahu?
Mahu. No, it's Jordan.
No, I mean, I don't know the word. Like when you're not girl or boy.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to think. I'm somewhat of an entertainer. I like to keep it a little looser. Better to play a part.
Makes sense.
The clothing is much more comfortable too. And you are a wet dog?
No, I'm Neutrinian.
Oh, Jordan's gonna pretend like they know what that means. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Jordan can roll a deception roll.
My mistake.
Kaimana does have relatively high passive insight, so
Okay, well, I'm a
He's
bard.
also naive.
yeah.
Let me figure out what it is.
How does that work? I'm
It
naive,
is like he can read people really well, but doesn't always pick up on what the reading is.
No.
He looks angry.
Yeah.
He must be fine.
You said roll deception.
Yes.
How do I roll on this app? Oh, there you go. Yes, roll P. I got a 14.
14. Yeah. I mean, it's like Kaimana, you pick up on that they seem like vaguely familiar with Lucidians. Yeah.
I need to look something.
Marlo.
Hi, and Mar is a tall female half-elf. She's got really long, like, salt and pepper hair. She wears a big kind of Western-style hat and a big overcoat. And she looks maybe like she'd rather be anywhere else at any given time.
No.
Twin rapiers at her side.
Mm-hmm.
And describe your armor.
Ooh, the cool armor.
Right, my cool armor that I remember what it looks like because Josh put a lot of time and effort into describing it for me.
It looks 100% like Geralt's armor in The Witcher.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And they frozen up.
Yep.
Oh, did we lose them?
Oh no.
Yep.
They will return.
I don't remember what I said in character. I literally think I just said I'm Ma. Mar is a tall female half elf. She's got long, like, salt and pepper hair. She wears like a big Western, like, kind of brim style hat and like a big overcoat. She has Geralt from The Witcher's armor on.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I love it.
She's the coolest member of the team.
And rapiers.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she just dead face at any given time.
Nice.
And lastly, Abel.
Yes, I am Abel Abioye. I am from the island nation of Nuevia. I am here I'm here in your nation to study. I was going to go to the Cindervale School for Artificers. It's in Cindervale, right?
Cindervale, yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. I was going to go to Cindervale for to attend school for artificers, but I decided joining an adventuring guild would be more of an educational experience. And Abel is just a regular old human, variant human to be precise. That's what I chose on D&D Beyond. And
there's like a weird kind of look on his face when you say that. Oh, Jordan uses they him pronouns instead of you.
Yeah.
But there's like kind of a weird face when you're saying all of this, and he's like, probably better you didn't go to that school after all. Welcome.
You can roll an insight check if you'd like, Abel.
Yeah.
I would very much like to. I'm always ready for a war again. Gotta find insight. Big money, big money. Oh, a 10.
Oh, the only thing you notice is there's a hitch when you say Cindervale. You can't pick up on the emotional response, but there's just like the moment you said it. Yeah.
I'll ask Jordan, what do you mean by that?
Oh, I mean, most of the time art school is a scam.
It is not this.
It's much better to learn your trade on your own out in the world, I believe.
Oh, okay.
You get the sense they're kind of giving you like the entertainer smile too when they say this. Well,
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Smile and wave.
Are you folks in a hurry tonight, or do you have time for a little, I don't know, song or so?
We have at least a week.
Oh, a week. That's quite a few songs. I don't
We
think
have
I
time for a song.
Ah, well, I think they might be wrapping up in the back there. So,
Yeah, the two bards in the back, who they're packing up their gear and they're gonna sit down for a meal. So there's a quiet kind of descends over the bar.
So don't mind if I do. And I'll take the case off the back. You'll see that Jordan also has a rapier. And they they pop their case open and take out, it's a dulcimer, which is if you drag
Tuba.
it. No, the dulcimer is the harpy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
No, I was hoping it was a tuba.
Oh, it's like the thing Trixie Mattel plays.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
you kind of didn't notice at first, but now you kind of see that he's always wearing the finger picks for it. You're like, oh, those were just on his hands, I guess, earlier. They look like rings almost, but he's got the little picks on. And they'll take it and nod to you all and go up towards the stage. And the second they hit the stage, you can see they're very natural on it. Hello, everyone.
And several of the people who were very much in their own drinks and in their own conversation immediately noticed Jury approaching the stage, and they focus over because familiar face, familiar performer, and there's a little bit of excitement about the presentation that's about to happen.
Yeah, so they're kind of getting everything set up for a second, and they're like, this is a song to welcome some friends, new friends, hopefully. And they'll sit down with the instrument, and so they start playing and singing this song. And I don't know if do you want me to roll performance first?
You can actually do, if you're gonna do a performance, then you are free to do it, and it'll determine whether or not you get advantage on the roll.
Okay.
And usually if you perform, you get advantage on the roll. So, yeah.
So, they start, it's kind of song at first, they start kind of listening closer to the lyrics.
Yep.
Did we blink? Okay, we're still there.
Yep.
So you start like listening closer to these lyrics, and you start realizing they're like very anti-rich. And the more you listen, the more they start to get kind of like intense towards the whole, you know, the rich kind of mentality. And everyone's very into it, I assume.
Yeah,
so,
they're like a mosh pit, basically, forming in the front. Yeah.
They start, and the chorus is probably something about revolution. And it's very Hamilton in this.
Yeah,
so.
it's like Bastille Day. Like it's all. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and roll a performance check with advantage to see how well you wow the audience. And I think it's been a while since I've checked that instrument. Doesn't it give you a bonus to performance?
I think so. I rolled like an 18 though, so I'm thinking it's probably gonna be incredibly good.
Like there's like literally a moment where it looks like a couple people in the back are like about to go start a war. Like you've like enraged their like Viva la France type energy, you know, like fraternity, you know, and they're like getting ready to go.
La Marseillaise from Casablanca.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna go behead some folks. Like,
and like, there's a couple people who head out, and like, they go out the door, and you're like, who knows? They're going into Hightower to cause some problems. Who knows what's about to happen? And then, but there's just a general kind of uproar, and like the bartender, who none of you have interacted with, the bartender is this like older Durgar, so like dwarven but darker skin tone, grayish hair, and he's like gets up on the bar and he's like, "Eat the fucking rich! You do it! Yes, do another one, Johnny! Encore!" And then somebody in the back's like, "Sing Freebird," and then they just keep going. Like, but like, there's just
you ask again, I'll stab you.
There's excitement. He backs down, but Jury and Jury's just like not Jury. The bartender's just like super excited. Dural. He's super excited, and like there's a moment where he just says, "Jury, drinks on the house tonight for you," and then he jumps back down.
Excellent. And you see like Druden kind of like ends the number, like fists in the air, is like kind of sweating with the effort of this. It was a long song. That's what It was one of those like 8-minute long numbers where you're like, okay, I think it's done.
It's like Stairway to Heaven, but like
yeah. And they kind of like finish and like wave everyone. They're like, oh, I really must eat. I must see my new friends. And they're just like loving it, like talking to people. And then they finally make their way back, and they're like, sorry about that. Got a little caught up in the moment.
There is a moment like at the stage when you all see Jury do their like fist in the air moment. You realize that there is a banner behind them, like on the stage, with a silhouette of a figure in the exact same feature, except like hair. More like kind of bigger afro type hair, but making the exact same motion. And you realize then like the banner is painted with like this almost like in blood type scrawl that just says, "We remember, and we always will."
The North remembers.
Yeah, Vox Populi doesn't play games. So, yeah.
All right. So they rejoin you all. They're like,
That's
so, more drinks?
That was lovely.
Oh, thank
I
you.
like the performance that you pulled off there. I'm impressed.
It's really good.
Oh, thank you. Kind of
How long
slow-
have
He might be a bit torn because he is friends with like the princess, but his heart does ache for all the poor people who
Sympathy for the rich.
Yeah.
Abel does not say anything about being friends with.
Good
Yes.
About the
good
me-
news.
You're like, that song was nice. Didn't like the message.
I'm just-
Didn't like the song.
Well,
His
and
internal monologue is.
I've never heard anything quite put that way. That was everyone seemed very entertained. I've played a paladin who doesn't lie too many times.
Yeah, you did.
You've stirred the emotion in the room. It's obvious that you did that. Yes.
Kaimana's gonna start defacing his currency.
No, we just got that. We just came into that.
I'm not. I mean, it's not unlimited drinks.
Hey,
Especially those yellow ones. Don't get rid of those.
People don't tend to care whether there's scratches on the money as long as it weighs the same.
Just like the little otter claws, like.
Oh. Scratch.
Which, like, Abel may still definitely have, like, the concern. Vox Populi, just from what you know, Jury, does not have a problem with the royalty. They have a problem with all the powers that are corrupting that system.
Yes.
So,
the
like,
corrupt
yeah,
ones.
they don't see the royalty as having any power at all. So they don't hold ill will towards the king or the princess.
Yeah,
They just
they're
think
all
they're
figureheads.
Yeah, they're figureheads. Yeah.
Makes sense, especially since the king is
Too young to be a king. Yeah. Yeah. He's 16.
yeah, I mentioned to Jordan that I've spent the last 2 years in the Rift with some of the time in the Rift and the rest at the Monastery of the Four Winds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm familiar with the area, and that's how I know Phileas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would check out. You seem monastery sort. But,
How long have you been with Vox Populi, if you don't mind me asking?
a few years now. It's just doing the work that needs to be done.
Shall we go see Phileas after we eat?
Yeah.
Well, I can certainly start you that way.
Excellent.
We need more drinks though, don't we? And I like
You wave, and at this point, like Durrell
My friend Marlo can pay.
Durrell himself comes over.
I'm not gonna pay for everything. Like I paid for a lot today, and I just feel like maybe after this it can be a little more equal opportunity from the rest of my party.
you all are my guest in this space.
Yeah.
No worries on
Oh
that.
no! I was clowning on my compatriots. Yeah, there was
Oh
nothing
yes,
on you.
I love clowning. That's
At this point, like Durrell himself comes over, and he has a tray of drinks, and he sets one down in front of you, Jury, and he like, leans over. Are these good people?
I'd like to think so.
Then I'll trust your word on it. And he plucks one down in front of each of you, and just kind of as he goes, he's like, "Remember the flood, right? Of course." And he keeps going, and you get the sense that he thinks that your song was dedicated to the flood. And so, yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll always remember.
Can we
So-
ask about this flood? What's going on?
Sure.
Yep.
I'll ask. Is it Juridan? Juridan?
Jury.
Juridan.
Yeah.
You can call me
Juridan.
Jury. My friends call me Jury.
Jury.
Jury? Okay. I'll ask Jury. I've heard whispers about the flood that recently happened. What caused that? What caused the flood?
You know that it's the digging out of the burrow, which is the trolley line that's supposed to run from Eldritch Peak to Hightower. When they were digging it out, they came across an underground river, and they diverted the underground river into the rift.
Yeah.
Do the I guess wouldn't it be like the people doing the construction, but do the people in power know that the rift is here? Like, did they do this on purpose?
You
Is
can
my-
like that's something that you could answer however you think Jury would answer it.
I doubt it would be on accident. I think it's a little too purposeful. And
It is disappointing to know.
That's horrible.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a place they don't control or can't tax.
thankfully.
Basically, it's costing them nothing to not flood it.
And you think they would be trying to fix it, but here we are.
This is a sad, sad story. Yeah, I'll just sit back and sip my beer.
We all drink quietly, probably for a second.
For a second. Yeah, and like
Heavy conversation.
it's
man.
hard
Jesus.
to know, Soros, based on how much of the rift you think is gone. It was like the newest edition. Like people were building up as far as they could, and then lately they'd started building down. And so there, I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of houses, but probably like 20 or 30 houses.
That's sad.
And depending on when the flood came, whether or not people were lost too.
I'm assuming there were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume Vox Populi has a plan on striking back.
I
Or is
think
that a
Druid-
question for Phileas?
This is not something Jury would know, so you can answer however you think Jury would answer.
Druid kind of smiles broadly and is like, Vox Populi has many plans. I'm not privy to all of them, of course.
Don't have to make you roll.
But-
Perfect answer.
There you go. I like that. That's
I'm a bard, damn it. I love it. But yeah. They're kind of like sitting with their instrument too, like now that they finished their drink, just kind of like idly plucking at it a little bit.
And Abel, you pick up immediately just from your arcane sense. Every time they hit a string, there's like this like reverberation through the air, and you can you realize at this point that there are runes carved along the outer edge of the dulcimer, and depending on what chord they're playing, some of the runes like light up in different ways, and you can tell that this is definitely a magical instrument of some kind.
I'll make a comment. It's very interesting instrument you have there. Did you work the enchantments yourself?
No, it was given to me, passed down through the family.
It is a family heirloom.
Yes, it was my mother's. I
So
continue.
it has a
And I
lot of
just
sentimental value.
picture Kaimana's love of flashes and shiny. Just every time there's one of these things flares, it's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
See him reaching out for it, like, oh no.
Like pushing back.
Space.
Yeah, thank you. No, do not touch it. You can look
Just
at
be
it.
careful because he broke one of mine.
I don't
You
know.
don't
if-
know that.
You don't
You
know.
don't know
You
that.
still don't know. You have not cast that spell.
Hysterical. But yeah,
Metagaming.
it's a very special instrument. A person is an entertainer is nothing if not for their instrument.
I would agree. Sully. Wait, I gotta be mean dad.
That's me and
Go
me kind of
She left.
Come sit down.
All right.
Okay. Have we finished our meals? Are we ready to meet with our friend Phileas?
Yes.
Yes.
So with Jury leading the way, and leading in a relatively familiar path to you, Soros, to where Phileas's like laboratory and work shop are, guides you through the city across like kind of the maze of interlocking bridges and past, and it seems like everybody knows Jury when they walk by. There's always like there's a happy a nod, there's a people like tipping their hat asking when the next performance is going to be, and very clearly you have a person of a celebrity within the rift there.
Would I have known of Jury from from being here previously?
Make just an intelligence check. Because you were in the rift for a couple years, so probably there might have been some crossover.
Well, I split time between here and the monastery, so
Yeah,
there's a chance.
The question is like there's a little bit of potential crossover between your timelines, and so we'll see if they cross. Yeah.
7, so no.
Yeah, probably not. Like, didn't spend too much time like enjoying the nightlife of the Rift. So even if there was a crossover with your time there, not somebody you're completely familiar with. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Eventually leads you up to the fourth level of the Rift, and here there's another zone where it looks like there's like a foundry of some kind that's literally been carved into the mountain. You can see kind of smokestacks coming out, and a little bit of smoke coming, and you can see maybe heat of furnaces or something on the interior lit up. And Jury walks in, and here for the first time you can see that there are guards guarding this space. Very clearly, Chasm Watch for Jury and Saurus you recognize, both of them with the Vox Populi symbol on their Chasm Watch emblem. The other one that you didn't recognize, Saurus, still not sure who they were, but yeah. But these Vox Populi are here guarding this one, and they look up and like, yes, do you have business in the foundry today?
Yes, we're going to see a name I forgot.
Phileas, yeah.
Phileas, yes, Phileas, my good friend.
Right, Jury, sure, right this way. And they kind of clear, and they watch as the others go by, but Jury seems to have clearance and gets you into the space.
You also notice that Jury's barefoot. Jury's just walking around hella barefoot.
Hella barefoot. No splinters or anything. So you enter into the foundry. The heat is like immediate from the furnaces, and there's a couple people like shirtless, pouring coal into a fire, and somebody seems to be melting metal or something in a catalyst there, and then they're pouring it out into a form of some kind. But Jury leads you past that, and then past into another little cavern at the back, where you hear like sounds of tinkering in the distance, and then there's a voice that kind of comes, and it's like, is that Saurus?
My old friend.
Oh, and then like you just hear this sound of like this older gnomish guy running from the back of the area, little short, kind of shock of white hair. He's got like those like tinker's glasses on with like a zoom lens on one eyeball, and then like 5 or 6 other lenses that he can push up or down on the other. And he just runs up and like jumps up and gives Saurus a hug. And he says, I didn't expect to see you back so soon. What are you doing? You're supposed to be off exploring the world.
I've joined the Adventuring Guild, and we are on our way to Feldspar, and stopped by through Hightower on our way.
That's quite exciting. Who are all of these? And he jumps off of Saurus and immediately like goes to Abel, no understanding of physical space, and he goes, "You're Noavian," and he starts like touching at your belt and like looking at like little objects that you have on your belt. He's like, that's a very interesting technology there. I would love to take a look at that at some point. And then he like very interesting Noavian technology. And then he jumps down and he kind of goes over to Mar, and he's kind of like looking at Mar, and he's
Nope. We're not gonna do this.
he pauses. Okay, and then he backs away. And then he goes over and he goes, "And a Lutrinian. I've been to the Vanishing Isles once. Please tell me they're still as fun as they always were."
Yeah.
Yes. And then he like goes back and he's like, "Saurus, I need it. Give it to me now." And he holds out his hand.
I hand him the pistol.
Okay, and he puts it in a pouch at his back, and he says, "You're going to be here for more than a day, right?"
Yes.
"I've updated the design. Just you wait." And he's like, he kind of puts it back there, and he says, "So what are you doing here?"
Couple of things. Like I said, we're on our way to Feldspar. We've become acquainted with Vox Populi, and have some common interest with them. Like I said, we were the founding members of the Adventurers Guild. We formed a group named the Ticket Takers that everyone seems to underestimate us, to our advantage. And while we are here, I wanted to show them where we met, so they would understand more.
There's a moment where like the excited energy kind of goes away for a moment, and you see fear, just like almost like a trauma reaction response to the, and he says, "You're planning on going back there then?"
Just briefly, so that they can understand.
Just as a heads up, the path is currently locked. You can get through. I can give you a pass, but there were some things that were making their way into the rift from that area ever since they started doing the drilling for the burrow.
I would like to show them. It's something, as you are aware, you can't explain.
No, just be safe as you go, but I can just let them, and he kind of goes back, and as he's talking, he says, just give them this, and they'll let you through the locked door, but just be safe and be prepared. And he hands over like a little written note, and you can see like he signed it like Volt Switch with like a Vox Populi signature at the bottom, and it's kind of like that. And he says, now if one of the watch is a rogue, just give it to the other one. One will be Vox Populi, one will be a rogue.
Understood. And I introduced my friends.
Okay. And
you've looked at them, but Abel, you and he have something in common, as you can tell. He is an artificer. Marlowe is the 6th Ranger.
The Green Ranger.
The Green Ranger.
And he's kind of like circling around each of you as you're being introduced and inspecting you very closely.
And I introduced Kaimana, my brother Kaimana, who is from the islands and who is one with nature.
It's a great vacation spot. You absolutely should go there. The bluest waters.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm glad these are actually your friends, Phileas. I was a little doubtful for a second.
Well, I don't know any of them except for this guy, but he's an honorable sort. He saved my life.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I would
Never told us his
before
story.
then.
No, I haven't heard this.
And you won't right now.
He
More
also
will be made clear to you in the future.
there's a moment, Abel, where like he's circling around like everybody, inspecting, like as they're being introduced, he's like circling around and inspecting them. And he's like a little gnome guy, like he's just kind of moving, and you feel like something like tug at the back of your belt at the back. And then he goes, I'm not going to do anything, but this is broken. And then he keeps moving around you, and like moves around, like inspects everything else.
See which one he was talking about.
And you pull out the little spider, your cure wound spider.
No. Yeah, I haven't used that spell in a long time.
And then he's kind of exploring. He says, well, is there anything else I can do for you while you're in town?
Vox Populi.
Oh yeah, we're doing that.
We were told to see the Maven.
He kind of looks in Jury's direction. Is that a good idea?
And I will explain who sent us. That our interactions with Jane and with I'm blanking on his name.
Toby.
Toby,
which they all know as a different person, but that's their code name. They recognize them. Yeah.
You kind of see like some of the friendliness like bleed off Jury for a second, and they'll be like very serious towards Phileas, and they're like, well, if you are going to vouch for him, it's under your name, but I don't know these people personally.
And he kind of looks in Saurus's direction. Yeah.
I vouch for them.
I would trust Saurus with my life. All right. And then he kind of like looks up, and you realize like this space, the workshop space, is like the lower level of probably a 3-story structure. And there's the kind of like wooden and metallic pathways at each level that go into like caverns that are carved out into the rock on either side. And he kind of calls up in one direction, and he just kind of whistles out like a tune. And there's a moment where you just hear, "I'll be right down," and then like kind of echoes through the chamber. And then there's a rope comes over the side of one of the walkways, and then there's a moment where like this, you see a an object come off of the third floor walkway, and then it grabs you realize it's a person, but there's some kind of contraption, and they grab the rope, and then they're sliding down it, and then one-handedly they kind of reach down onto the contraption and pull a lever, and there's wheels on the contraption, and it kind of, they bend out for a second, and you see this arcane energy flare, and they come to a slow descent. The wheels click back underneath it, and you see in front of you a human female, probably in her early 20s, maybe mid 20s, dark skin, her hair, fine intricate braids, kind of pulled back in the back, and then like loosely tied up in this area, covered in like soot and places where she looks like she's been working on something. You see she has strapped on her back 2 very large, much like the gun that Saurus holds, but longer in size, strapped crossways on her back. And then she's in a chair of some variety, and it's a wheeled chair that she's sitting in, and she's kind of strapped into it, but she seems very capable, the strength of her arms to kind of pull herself around with it, but it also is arcane in nature, and it lifts up when she needs it to. And she just kind of says, Phileas, I was in the middle of something. What was this lot? And Phileas kind of says, this is Saurus. And she kind of looks and she goes, you're the one that saved Phileas's life. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vox Populi wouldn't be the same without him, so I appreciate it. But I suppose if you're going to call on the Maven, there must be a reason. Let me introduce myself. I'm Iris Cordray.
If we have some kind of like in Vox Populi, some kind of like show of respect I do it to Iris.
Yeah, there's like a little, like it's a little salute at the chest.
Yep.
It's like the Attack on Titan salute.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do that.
Mm-hmm. And she kind of nods him back. Well, I guess we have some things to talk about. And that's where we'll take our quick 10-minute break.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
I get to say thank you, 10. Yay!
Yay! Thank you, 10.
Yay!
Welcome,
Yay!
Ace. Welcome, Ace. Yay!
You have a bard again.
Yes, we've been like secretly planning this for like a week.
Nice.
Like, sorry, we just
have.
want.
Wow.
Yes.
It was
The
fun.
deception is real, man.
The real life deception.
Ronnie didn't know. Nobody knew.
Ronnie didn't even know. Atwood knew because he had to set everything up.
Yeah.
And then he almost spoiled it.
But how long ago did Atwood find out?
I think it was around the same time. Because
Okay.
I asked him, I was like, "You're fine with me doing this game, right?"
Okay.
And he was like, "Yeah." I wasn't gonna just be like, "Well, I'm doing this thing."
No.
Not like he could stop my immense power, but still.
This is awesome.
Power. That magical loot. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be back.
All right, we'll
All
see
right.
y'all in 10. Yep.
They'll walk Sully. Maybe she'll calm down.
Maybe, we'll see.
Are you looking for a D&D podcast with a dark side? Something more like Game of Thrones and less like Monty Python? Tale of the Manticore is part dark fantasy audio drama, part solo D&D RPG. There's no plot armor here. The dice make all the important decisions. Join me as I resurrect the excitement, wonder, and emotion of old school D&D. Made for a mature audience, Tale of the Manticore is both a fiction and a game. It's the story where chaos rolls.
All right. So welcome back. So the ticket takers have made their way to the not hidden but underground city of the Rift, where Vox Populi and other such outside of the realm's jurisdiction organizations and people live. There they encountered the Bard Jury, who has kind of accompanied them to introduce them to Phileas Voltswitch, the head arcanist, not arcanist, arcanist, the head arcanist of Vox Populi, and he has called down the leader of Vox Populi, Iris Corday, to meet you all, and she is younger than you probably would think the leader of Vox Populi would be, like 24, 25 years old, in a contraption, a chair with wheels that seems to have some arcane kind of construction built into it as well. And she's introduced herself, and she's there kind of ready to talk to you all. So...
So I'm making notes.
Oh, you're fine. Yep.
I'm gonna write it down. I won't remember it, and then I still won't remember it. But it'll be written down so I can read it.
And anybody look at? She's got the 2 guns on her back. When you're looking at the chair, there's like 2 more guns like tucked into compartments on the chair. Like she's definitely decked out with her armament.
Do we know that she is the Maven, or she just introduced herself as Iris?
Yeah, well, Phileas, when you said you wanted to talk to the Maven, Phileas called for her, so you assume.
Yeah, Jury did like the bow thing.
And you saw the amount of respect that Jury gave to them as well. So.
Okay. Introduce myself. Hello, we are the ticket takers. Pleased to meet your acquaintance.
You as well. I received a letter with the name Ticket Takers, not yesterday. You seem like good people, according to the people that I can trust who've said so.
I'm glad that our reputation is painted us in a positive light where it concerns Vox Populi. Although we have seen some of your tactics that may not set well with all of our members, we still agree with your mission.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I'm sure there will be time to discuss it later.
Of course.
I think now...
Oh, no!
Oh.
Yes, of course, we'll have time to discuss anything, I suppose.
I think now the goal is to see if our mutual needs align and how we can help one another to meet our end goals.
Perhaps, but you seem to have second thoughts about working directly with us based on the means with which we approach certain situations. Can you explain at what level you would go to protect those who cannot protect themselves?
I simply witnessed a young man's life put in danger that had nothing to do with the conflict directly, and that is what I'm referring to. But
collateral damage of innocence.
She immediately starts. She starts wheeling herself out of the room. Like, not like back up where she came from. She's wheeling straight out. Phileas starts walking with her.
I follow.
I guess we follow. Yeah.
All right. And as she's wheeling, she's kind of talking, and you're making your way back through the workshop and the foundry, and she says, I'm not quite sure. I can tell based on your clothing that perhaps your background is not one of struggle or strife. And I realize it might be difficult for you to understand the plight of those who have not experienced such ills. And she keeps rolling. And you get out to, like, the workshop is on the 3rd floor, the 3rd rise of the area. And she kind of wheels out on this platform that overlooks the whole city beneath you. And you can just, you see the hovels and the people wandering around trying to, live their lives here in the Rift. And she's looking down at the roaring river, and she says, so you are worried about the temporary death of one rich man from Hightower? Are you not concerned about the 137 people that died just last week when this river tore through our home?
The temporary death of this young man,
whose father is directly responsible for building the borough.
So perhaps his father should be the target. Is my only suggestion. There's no
Yes.
guarantee that that young man could have been brought back to life, and I don't think it would help the cause to give the people who would smash your resistance the moment they have the chance the ammunition to call you terrorists. But
You don't think they already did?
again, I don't think it helps the situation by giving them more ammunition to paint that narrative.
That's all well.
But I am a rich, pampered foreigner, so what do I
think
know?
one of the objections is that one of the things they do is they ignore the innocent. They don't matter. If the goal is to be different than them, then be different than them.
I'm just trying to get a sense of whether or not you think those who are of the oppressors are truly innocent.
I don't think a young school-aged boy is making the decisions that would oppress the people that we are all here to fight for.
I see.
That is my only observation.
She just kind of looks all of you up and down. It's a fair point. Perhaps we do not define oppression the same way.
I guess that's what this meeting is about. For us to iron out those definitions, eh?
Jury,
Yes,
what does it mean to you?
means to help those in need no matter what, no matter the cost. He kind of like pointedly looks at you. Each of you in turn. And we'll look back to Iris and nods.
If I'm correct in understanding, you killed a patrician. And she kind of looks at you each. Was her murder justified?
At the time when the decision was made, I was not present, but I would hope that my party members did what they thought was right in the moment.
She was not innocent. She put people and
She was
creatures
not
in
innocent.
cages. Therefore, we have no problem with what happened to her.
Also, it wasn't technically us.
It was, you know, nobody knew exactly what happened in that room with the big cat.
Right.
I mean, if she'd been nice to the big cat, then maybe it wouldn't have eaten her.
The people behind bars, I think, maybe was also pretty up there on my list, personally.
I would just challenge you to consider that perhaps she is not innocent because she's part of a system, not because of anything that she did herself.
Oh no, this is something she did herself.
Well, I'm sure she did horrible things. Those in those systems often do. And the young boy that died was going to grow up into that system. If you want to take out individuals, I can direct you to any number of people who should be high on your list. But I don't seek to take out people.
What would be the end goal of Vox Populi? You don't seem to take out people. You want to change the entire system. So what would that entail?
Well, Do you want a history lesson, or do you want my view of things?
Short version.
Your view. Yeah. You're the one that we are seeking to potentially partner with.
Vox Populi started as a group called A Priori.
Wait a moment.
My father was one of the founding members. He was high in the guild structure within Alyria. They had the vision of rooting out corruption and changing the system so that it benefited people and not just those who had privilege and power. But even such a structure and a revolutionary idea such as that can be corrupted. And it was, as I'm sure you are aware. My father broke away from A Priori and formed Vox Populi, and was killed for it. This was when I was 10, and she kind of looks at Phileas, and Phileas says, yes. And Phileas raised me from that point to see the pain that is caused by those who would take any system and bend it to their personal will. A Priori was going to bring peace and justice to everybody, and you know what it does now. Do you not think every system that they touch is equally infected?
I don't think we disagree on that point. I think our approaches may be dissimilar.
Perhaps.
I would want to treat the infection, not simply cut off the arm that is infected.
I think that my metaphor fits yours better. I want to destroy the infection. Unfortunately, the agents of such an infection are often sacrificed in the process.
I have no problem with the agents taking care of the agents of the infection.
I will say that Toby perhaps went too far. The target was Lady Kellis. But I do not apologize for what happened to the privileged boy under her watch.
This
Thomas.
is where I have a
Thomas. Oh, yes, Thomas.
Thank you, Malo. This is where I have a objection. Many people would look at me and call me the privileged boy
Are you not?
who lives in a mage's tower. Just because I am privileged does not mean I don't see the suffering of others and that I would not act to try to change it. And it does not mean I should be the target of an attack to make a political point.
I will say that it is honorable that you use your power to fight against things. You might find a compatriot and jury in that.
Jury like kind of looks away.
However,
So I'll look over at jury.
yeah. However, how many within your same level would do the same? You were traveling with the princess only recently. How aware was she of all the problems facing her kingdom?
How did you know we were traveling with the princess?
Jane told you. Jane told her. Or like the letter from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
The letter from Darren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Well-
we got spied on.
When she
Oh,
started
you don't think
cheating-
you've been spied on by Vox Populi? This is like the...
Yeah, but I don't think they would
Bless your heart.
outright admit, like, we've been spying on you.
No.
Oh, we all know it, but it's I would say that when it started, she had no idea.
Yeah.
After seeing things like Lady Haverly's, she has a much different worldview.
Yeah, and if you remember also, like, the first interaction you had with Vox Populi, they said that they were going to inform their leaders about you all. So, like, this is something that's happened, like, 3 or 4 times now.
Our reputation precedes us.
Yes. And so she's being blunt with you all. It's fair, but don't you think it odd that you had to teach the princess about what was happening in her own lands?
The princess has been living most of her developed years in Nuevia, so...
That's true.
I think we both understand there's a lot of people surrounding her that would prefer she doesn't know the truth.
And that's the system. So, if you know what I know, then a priori has infected everything, including the Curia Regis, which is the de facto leadership of Alyria at this point, because the king is, of course, too young to take on the role. Do you trust them to make the decisions over the people?
Absolutely not.
Well, we are the people.
May I ask a blunt question, since we are being
blunt.
Open. Would the king, the young, inexperienced king, be in any danger from Vox Populi? He is perhaps uninformed, maybe not as sympathetic as he could be if he knew what was happening to his people.
There was a time when the royal family, blessed as they were by the gods to have the role that they do, were the voice of the people. The king's death 20 years ago, 16 years ago, changed that. With Princess Alyria only a year old, with her brother not even a year old, with her brother 2 years old at the time of their father's death, it left plenty of time for others to step in and fill the vacuum of power. That's when a priori was taken over by the nefarious people who currently puppet it. That's when my father was driven out and killed.
So would you see the prince as a potential ally? If you could get the right people to his side to counsel him.
I would hope.
That gives me a bit of comfort. Although I do not know the prince very well personally, the princess and I are good friends, and I would not want to see her suffer knowing that her brother would be a target of Vox Populi.
We have larger fish to fry than a impotent king.
I won't argue that point.
Fish fry! Sorry. Had to break the mood.
I know that some of you've directly seen a priori's hands in many things. They're working with an organization called the Tidewater Syndicate. They are currently... We haven't been able to get an operative into Feldspar, but they're doing something there.
That is our next part of our journey.
And that is perhaps the most important part of our conversation. I would ask that you, if you feel that you can sully your hands so much to partner with us, if you could take our operative jury with you when you make that journey to Feldspar.
Captain?
Yes.
You're the captain?
Of our ship, yes. Marlowe's in charge when we're on the ground. Kaimana's in charge when we're on the air or on the water.
All right. What do you say, Kaimana?
That's Sir Kaimana.
Joey like looks down at you. All right, what do you say, Sir Kamana?
I say we bring you along. You have a great singing voice.
Oh, thank you. I don't think anyone will begrudge me that.
I agree. I would not mind working with Journey. If we have a similar goal in Felspar,
Well,
I have no problem working with Vox Populi.
as long as
We'll just make
you
sure our tactics are not too heavy-handed against the people who don't deserve it.
I don't think that you will have to worry about jury harming those who do not deserve the harm.
I'm a great judge of character.
So is Kaimana.
Right.
He's our moral compass.
Explains a lot.
Yes.
No, sorry, I'm just flashing back to the time that Kaimana established our rules of engagement.
Yep, it's true. We have to talk first.
and if they don't talk, all bets are off.
Yep. Yep. And then so she kind of good. I do not think that you will ever understand us completely, but if we can work together and we have similar goals, then I don't see why we should not form a partnership.
Sorry, I zoned out for a minute.
That's fine. You've been awfully quiet. Marlo?
Is there something you want me to say? I don't really. Like, I'm not a big fan of organizations in general. I think you have good intentions. I think you have a lot of people who all individually have good intentions. I think when you all get put together, you feed off of each other, and sometimes they get warped. Just keep yourself in check.
I appreciate that. As I say, we come from a warped background. Something that was perverted that should not have been.
I very much understand that.
I will fight to make sure that doesn't happen.
I look forward to working with you.
You as well. And then she kind of looks around to see if there's any other thoughts or comments before she rolls on and leaves Phileas there with you.
Yeah, I'll just message her. I use message and tell her that I'll keep in touch with her through the sending. Dive sending, so guess what? You're being spied on some more. Have fun.
And she says, I trust you know what to do.
Underhandedness.
And then Phileas goes, well, that could have gone better, but I think it went well enough, right?
Oh, it could have gone much worse.
Oh, there's worse. Okay. I realize that she's very abrasive. That might be because I raised her. And I'm not very good at being a father.
We don't have to get into that. I mean, we can just... She seems great.
She's strong-spirited. That is a good quality to have in a leader.
Yes, quite. And she has spent most of her life doing this, so she doesn't really have much of an identity outside of it.
That's good, I guess.
Perhaps, yes, of course. So, are you all planning on staying the night here, or are you going off on your excursion back there, Soros?
I thought we would spend the night and then do that first thing in the morning.
Good. If you can, of course, Dural will be able to provide you with rooms at the Hortus Folly. If you let him know my name, he might remember that I have a tab there, and we might be able to get you some rooms for the evening.
Thank you.
Of course. Anything that I can do for you. If you come back tomorrow morning before you leave, I might have finished the upgrades on your pistol.
Thank you, my friend.
Of course.
I wanna go to Phileas and say, Mr. Phileas, you said that this was broken. Do you mind? Maybe I could tag along with you and we could look at it together.
Sure. I would love to have the company.
Sortis, I will meet you all later.
Sounds
I
good.
guess.
We will go back to the inn and procure lodging.
Okay. You make it back, and the moment you mention Phileas, Dural says, puts down 4 keys on the tabletop. Boop, passes them over. As all the room I've got, we're booked up otherwise, but I've got 4 spaces for you.
All right.
And then they kind of head off from there. And so you guys have an option how you want to spend your evening. Yeah.
Jury, I assume that you're staying at your place tonight and we'll meet us back in the morning?
I mean, I don't really have a place. I roam around, but it's pretty easy to find a room. They give you kind of like a coy smile. I don't think I've ever been want for one.
Nice.
Would you care for one of these, or would you prefer to fend for yourself?
With all due respect, we've just met.
The implication.
We'll also need to get another hammock.
I think you got 8.
We got some extras. We got some extras.
We planned for guests.
Yeah.
You do hammocks are great.
Yeah.
Especially if it's rained recently.
Oh, can't wait to show Jury the ship.
They just froze.
that shit-
Possibly happened to Vox Populi.
That's
No?
true, but he was killed very quickly after he founded Vox Populi.
Vox Populi is the best.
I was trying to find his name. I wrote it.
Everybody loves Vox
Populi.
Populi.
I wrote it down, and I wanted to make, because she absolutely would have said his name. His name is Damien. Damien Corday was the original founder of. Damien Corday was the original founder of Vox Populi, and he was also one of the founders of A Priori. Yeah, she probably has information on the original founders of A Priori at some point if you befriend her enough. So.
I'll level up the friendship.
I was as nice to her as I possibly could have been.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
so grown up for Mar. I want everyone to appreciate it. Because Mar wanted to say, "Fuck you, you terrorist." I hate you.
Yes, she's like Kyrie Morgenthau or Morgenthau. That's her last name.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Flag smasher. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun talks on the road, I feel.
Yeah, I like this is
about
this is
ideology.
fantastic.
We're probably going to be talking behind your back a lot, Journey.
Yeah.
Just.
I mean, listen, Mar also considers herself a part of a cult, so she doesn't fault you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Abel doesn't truly trust Mar completely because of her background.
My
Yeah.
sketch order.
and there are some things like about that conversation, Jury, that you would have picked up on that nobody else would be able to know. So I'll send you a little blah blah about it when it's done, because
I did want to do. I forgot.
you know Iris well enough
Yeah.
that she was putting some code into the conversation. So we'll see. All right. So as the evening goes, Abel spends probably a couple hours with Vilius. Or Phileas as Vilius is his brother. Phileas as they're doing the
I get that reference.
Yeah. As they're kind of rebuilding Saurus's gun. As the rest of you kind of make your way back to the tavern for what may or may not be a quiet and tense evening of reflection about what you've got yourself into. With the plan that in the morning you are all heading off to Source's laboratory, and whatever that entails. But we'll go ahead and end there for the evening and pick up next time.
Sounds good.
Hey, just so you know, Source was a regular rat that was converted by magic and science into what he is.
You're a secretive Nimrat.
Yes.
Oh my god.
You get the other reference.
Yes,
Someone
Secretive
finally
Nim.
got it.
Why do you guys
Wait,
keep
no one
doing
picked
this
up
to
on
me?
that? I love Secretive Nim.
I love Secretive Nim. It's
One of my favorite movies growing up ever.
Yeah. So yes.
Literally the first
Frisbee.
thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Is that a Disney?
I don't think
No.
Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nim is a
No.
Disney.
No,
Yeah.
it's a what's his face?
Don Bluth.
Don Bluth, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100% a Don Bluth movie. It's fucked up.
Something. Can I watch that on Disney Plus? I don't know.
Don Bluth
but-
is like, nah.
But yeah, he's only 2 years old in the world as far as being intellectual.
We got a lot of youngins in this group.
Yeah, it's pretty young.
Yeah.
Come on is how old?
11.
And they froze
I'm an
again.
old man at like
Oh, no.
No.
This is hard.
It's so difficult. It's
And
fine.
it's like they didn't even add another device. It's like, what?
No, it's just I feel like our internet was also struggling today. Like I feel like it's just like
The rain. The rain always throws
The
my
rain,
Wi-Fi
yeah.
like crazy.
Oh, it might
No,
be.
for
no, it's
real,
for sheer.
like,
Yeah,
literally. So it's like,
absolutely.
hey, did you know that Don Bluth's half cousin is Mitt Romney? Because I was looking at his like Wikipedia page to get his filmography real quick, and it showed up that his half cousin is.
Oh
Mitt
no,
Romney.
he's All Dogs Go to Heaven, right?
Yeah, and Anastasia,
Anastasia,
and
yeah.
Land Before Time,
Land Bef- yeah.
and the
Land
other
Before-
mouse
yeah.
one.
American
Yeah.
Tale.
Yes, I'm
Five
so
Goes
sorry.
West. Yeah. Which, like, an American Tale, like, think that was the first time I remember crying in the movie theater was watching an American Tale. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I remember Anastasia. Like, I was living for that movie because I first saw it, I think, at, like, my great-grandmother's house because she had, like, maybe 3, VHS tapes, and one was, like, Song of the South Uncut, and I was not allowed to watch that one after the first 5 minutes when my parents were like, okay, nope. And so it was, like, Anastasia and I think American Tale, and I hated American Tale for no reason. But Anastasia, it fucked me up so bad. I remember seeing the villain song where he's just talking about, like, I'm gonna summon demons.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Like, Anastasia Demon Dark is like Hunchback of Notre Dame, like, hellfire. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is
yeah.
this? Like,
Fucking crazy.
yep. All right.
Welcome back.
Yes, but we'll pick up there the next time, and like, whoa, okay, tension rises for things. So, but we'll go from there. So thanks all for joining us.
Tension rises.
Yeah, tension. See y'all next time.
Oh, we're going to Source's laboratory. I
Yes.
just realized that's relevant for me. Whoops.
Whoops.
It's relevant
Yeah.
for you?
Whoops. I remembered my own backstory.
Why is it relevant for
Me
you?
this whole session, like, oh, that's right.
There's so much.
I mean, to be fair, I've been playing this character since like August, I think. So inexcusable for me. You've had your boy for one day.
Yes, but I mean, big backstory complications for several people. Yeah.
Not me. I'm scot free.
Yeah. We have to go closer to your realm. All right, but we'll
Josh
see y'all
is gonna-
next time. Yeah,
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me.